Hello everyone, I'm Amira from the marketing team of Texan, and today we have a special guest, Mr. Jim Curley.
Hello.
So how are you?
I'm well. Nice for having me. Thank you.
So you came all the way from Chicago to Pakistan. Was it really worth it?
It's interesting you asked that. So this is my first time in Pakistan, and to get here is quite the journey. I left on Chicago in the evening on a Monday, and it took 2 days to get here. I had to go through Doha, and then I was picked up at 1 o'clock in the morning and delivered to my hotel. So to answer your question, was it worth it? The answer is yes.
So I've heard that this is the first time that you visited to Pakistan. So have you been to any places and any favorite ones out of those?
Yeah. So I think I've been here for 4 days. Every day we've gone out for meals. We've gone to see some of the important sites. Today we got up early and we went to Lahore Fort and saw a 500-year-old structure, which was the house of the original president of the country, and maybe one of the first most significant mosques. I think at one time it was one of the largest mosques in the world.
Once I came to Pakistan, the one thing that hit me was to try their biryani. Did you have a chance to try their any local cuisine?
Every meal that we could eat, we tried to go local. So I know the best place for curry.
Okay.
I know the best place for ice cream. And if you want, I'll give you my list of places to go. But I'm sure I'm going home weighing more than I came here because all I did is eat great food.
That's great to hear. And you've been here for 4 days, having many meetings, probably till 8 p.m. So how is it going? How's the progress?
Well, I mean, it's the easiest way, right? I mean, virtual is the only way, maybe the best substitute for in-person. And I think that's the way that will work. We've obviously invited the team here to come over to America if that is something that they can arrange. But I think virtual, when it comes to programming, once you agree to the scope of the project and the timelines, I think you're on your way to be able to do things remotely. It's just you need to take a lot of time, and I think your team has been exceptional at slowing down our thinking and making sure that we've thought through exactly what we should do and how to do it, so that we don't find ourselves going this way when we really wanted to go that way. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge for most people for programming, is companies think they want something, and once the programming starts, they change their mind. And it's not the programmer's fault. It's the people who are the visionaries of how they want this to look. It's like building a house. I might come in and say, I want this house made of brick. I want it to be 2-story. And then 3 weeks later, I want something that's 1 story with no brick. You have to be mindful of the fact that if you make those changes from a programming standpoint, it changes the resources needed, the time commitment. And so it's very, very important to have this understanding before you start.
So what are the challenges you foresee in implementing this project?
I think building on our vision and having it programmed is always a challenge, right? Because how we see something may not be the same way that the programmer sees something. And what we talked about here this week is having a weekly status report to make sure that we stay focused on what the initiatives that we've agreed to on, which is important because it's very possible that what we want may not be what the programmers are doing. Nothing against the firm, it's just that unless you have constant communication and do a lot of pre-planning to make sure that the scope of the job is agreed to, you could find yourself disappointed. So I think from my perspective, that's probably the most important thing, is that dialogue back and forth, and then having these scheduled meetings to make sure that we're on task.
True. Out of all those challenges, you've seen many companies, but why Texan?
Yeah, I have to say that when we first were introduced to the firm, one of the other owners of our company found your firm and brought it to my attention, and we scheduled a call, and the call went extremely well. And then we scheduled another call, and that went even better. And then we thought, we've never done business outsourcing with somebody in Pakistan. So I came up with the idea, I think I need to go there. And actually planning the trip was, it took us a while because I've never been here before. So that probably took us 2 weeks to get that organized. And so it was really based, to answer your question, on all of our initial calls seemed to be answering all the questions we had. And you get a comfort level when you talk to someone, right? And so on the phone, you get to a certain level, but the only way to really make sure that you know for sure is to meet them in person. So we've had many meetings in office, we've had many meetings over meals, and I think I'm going back with a greater comfort than I even thought I could come back with. So but we met, I think, over my partner found the firm. Yeah.
And of course, the culture in America and in Pakistan, it's totally different. What do you think about your company, Exchange 365 and Texan?
I would think the companies in Pakistan actually are probably more global thinking, right? It's required for people in Pakistan to service clients around the world. Most firms in the United States, their reach is in America. And so our staffing is typically more American, or the staffing here might be multinational. And so I think on this trip, walking through the 3 floors of the firm, it gave me an opportunity to see people from all over the world. So I'm quite impressed.
So nearshoring and offshoring, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so we're a firm based in America, in Chicago. And one of the options that you have is, can you work with somebody to do the work maybe in Mexico? That would be considered nearshoring, right? And the distance from Chicago is under 1,000 miles to Mexico. Or do you look to do business in Pakistan, which the distance might be 7,000 miles? Should that play into the decision? And I think what I would say is clearly coming to visit here, the commitment to travel is longer to come here than it would be to go to Mexico, that's for sure. But when you look at the ability to work with somebody using Zoom, Teams, or however you want to communicate once you decide that you're going to have a strategic partner, I think there are no borders. There is no near, as far as distance, everyone becomes in one place. So I think that it's a non-issue, really. If you find somebody that you like and they're in Pakistan, and you feel that they have the skills at the price you're willing to spend, then you should work with them, right? Some firms, I think, want to work with firms that they know that they have the business experience. There's an ease of entrance to come to visit, to communicate, and I think, working with people in Pakistan, they check all those boxes. It's all good.
So you've spoken to the technical team and the marketing team. What do you think of them?
That's a really good question. The first full day I was here, they organized a meeting here for me to meet the heads of each of the departments. And in addition to talking about what they do in their job, they talked about their personal hobbies, things they like to do. And that to me was very interesting because what I found is you have a tremendous number of people that music is one of their inspirations. And I understand after we talked that, music and programming, uses maybe similar parts of the mind. And since I've been here, I've been privy to sitting in and listening to people jam on their guitars, playing some of these great songs, some of which are American songs. The Eagles' Hotel California was one of the most popular songs in America, and that was the first one that the group here jammed to. So I think what it really brought to me is that all the way on the other side of the world in Pakistan, we have this common bond, and in this case it was music, and some great music, and that really meant a lot to me.
I've been noticing you've been pointing out these pictures and asking from all of us. So if you look into these pictures, they're all leading figures. And who has inspired you the most out of these?
So I have to tell you, when I came and I visited each of your floors and was introduced to your team, we came up here where we held most of our meetings. And I was amazed because around the room, and you may not see it on this video, there are pictures of famous structures in the world, one of which is from America, which is the Golden Gate Bridge. There's pictures of all the famous companies that your firm has done programming with. And when I looked at this, it was very inspiring. And then I came over here and I saw all these great people, whether it be athletes, leaders of the world. And when I looked at it, the one that really inspired me the most is actually from Chicago. Did you know that there's one here from Chicago, which is my hometown, Illinois, in America? And his name is Michael Jordan, number 23. Now, anyone who watches this, particularly if you're from America, Michael Jordan today is the #1 recognized face in the world. And he happens to be from Chicago. So when I came here, he welcomed me to your office. That was a great connection. So I appreciate you saying that. I mean, there's all other things that, right? I mean, Elon Musk is up here and Steve Jobs is sitting right here looking at me, and the Beatles are even waving to me. But number 23 is my inspiration.
All right, so the next question
the
is
most
pretty
recognized
important.
person in the
What
world.
kind of recommendations would you give to TechSend in the perspective of treating clients like from the US or UK, Australia?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for an American company is our range of languages that we speak is fairly narrow. English being the majority of everything that we commute business in. And I think, in Pakistan, the second most popular language is English. So I was very impressed the fact that everyone I've met can speak English. And so that, I think, is a tremendous way to be able to bond, right? Even if I tell a funny joke, they understand it, right? Because people understand English. So for me, I was able to check the box that not only the owners of the firm, but the managers and the people that are doing the coding, English is probably their second language. So that's very helpful.